The system is built for you to get into debt. System is not built for you to save money because inflation is going to eat up. Now inflation is 11%. 11% means a lot. If you have money in your bank, if you have everything paid off and have money in your bank, it's going to just dissolve. It's not going to buy anything.
I was looking at one of the news articles today where the country level credit card debt is more than $1 trillion. And the gist of the article was it's not a very good situation to be in.
No. I mean, even though I don't like Dave Ramsey on lot of things, but there is some good stuff that Dave Ramsey really put in place, right? Dave Ramsey clearly explains what's a good debt, what's a bad debt, right? Good.
So there is a follow-up question on that. Is there any downside in refinancing? What are some of the situations where people regret refinancing?
The biggest thing is people don't understand what they're refinancing. If you're refinancing, term is reset. That's where the choking happens in real estate, wherein you're like right on the border, you're buying something with total intention to refinance in 6 months, and you know because you read Wall Street Journal, you know the market is going to come down, then it will go the other way, right? And you're screwed. Then that's called the choke point. Like you literally choke.
Because if you really had to move to find a more affordable place to live, you could move and rent your property out. So I feel like you're in a safe position if the home that you're buying would rent for either at or a little bit more than what you are paying in a mortgage payment.
And having a 10-year plan to be able to own the house is the right strategy, like Anne said.
Being methodical. I mean, if you have a goal to invest in real estate, I think forcing yourself to have a tiger chase you every few years and buy another property and then buy another property and doing it little by little in a sensible manner will help you sleep at night and help you have a good retirement plan later.
So when you buy your first home, also think about keeping some room for savings so that after 2 or 3 years you can also think about your savings.
Yeah.
So every 2 years you can do that.
And maybe if the interest rates went down, you could pull out some in a refi maybe and buy your next home with that. But saving the money for the next down payment is the ideal situation.
Moving on to the next question. So between the two scenarios where in one case you are paying more, but you will wrap up the loan in like short duration versus you are paying less per month, but you are paying more in interest. Which one do you think is a ideal situation for most people?
I mean, it depends on the situation. I like to have a lot of debt on my head because I want to use the cash to buy more real estate. It took me almost 10 years to wrap my head around. It took me a long time. Remember, and you listed a home on Fargo in Chandler. I bought that listing. This was a long time ago. So that time I just paid cash for it and I bought it. And then again after that I had another opportunity to buy something. I didn't have cash because I put all the cash there.
Yeah.
Then I had to refinance and cash out, and now I'm paying more interest because purchase money is cheaper.
There's a happy medium. Like, you don't want to just put zero down all the time and be overextended with a million properties. Those are the people that would crash and burn when the market was hot. But having some debt allows you to build your wealth over time. And a really good saying that you brought to me is always have a little bit of a tiger chasing you. And what that means is you push yourself a little beyond your comfort zone, but not too far beyond your comfort zone. You don't want to get eaten by the tiger, basically. So I do believe some debt is good debt. You can't grow a business, you can't grow a real estate portfolio without leveraging the bank and always paying everything 100% cash. You can never really get there. Normally in the beginning, you're going to put the 20% down on investment property, and you can put just 3.5% down on your own property when at the lowest. And you could move every 2 years and keep that as a rental and constantly grow your real estate portfolio. But at some point, towards the end, when you're getting closer to retirement, then you want to pay down your loans so that you have income coming in from your rental properties, but you will never leverage past one or two properties if you don't leverage debt. So some debt is good debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what strategy you have been using, I think it comes from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think where you are using others' money to make.
Correct. Correct. That's how the system is built. That's how the government made this 30-year mortgages and all that, right? The system is built for you to get into debt. System is not built for you to save money because inflation is going to eat up. Now inflation is 11%. 11% means a lot. If you have money in your bank, if you have everything paid off and have money in your bank, it's going to just dissolve. It's not going to buy anything.
And I believe the inflation rate is much higher than 11% because I can look at one bill, like I can look at my gas bill and it's up 63%. So that's not 11%. So it's really, I really don't believe 11% is our true inflation rate right now. So all the more reason to possibly look to real estate, which is a hard asset, which I feel like is a safer investment right now than a lot of other options that you have zero control over and no ownership of a hard asset.
I was looking at one of the news article today where the country level credit card debt is more than $1 trillion. And the gist of the article was it's not a very good situation to be in.
No.
So if a lot of people are going for debt, how does that play out in a bigger picture?
See, all debt is not equal. Good debt and bad debt. That is like a clear distinction.
Yeah. Credit card debt, bad. Always bad. Almost always bad. I mean, I've known business owners to actually start a business off of credit card debt. So I'm not saying 100%. Sometimes the opportunity is so great that you will go for a higher interest rate to take advantage. For instance, a lot of flippers, sometimes they don't have any cash left and they have to kind of take a high interest loan to flip a property that they see that they're getting for such an awesome deal. So sometimes a higher interest rate isn't awful, but generally speaking, I think that Kiran and I would say that your credit card debt is bad debt. That's the first debt you need to pay off.
Yeah. I mean, even though I don't like Dave Ramsey on lot of things, but there is some good stuff that Dave Ramsey really put in place, right? Dave Ramsey clearly explains what's a good debt, what's a bad debt, right? Good debt is what you get. The debt is for on appreciating assets like real estate. I mean, not that real estate appreciates all the time, but the chances of that appreciating is higher. That's good debt. Car, depreciating asset. You don't want to have a car loan for too long. Let on real estate, the mortgage interest rate is tax deductible, right? On car, it's not. Things like that. Credit card, it's like you're paying interest and it's not good. So all that is bad debt. First, you need to understand and define what's a credit card debt. I mean, credit card debt is bad. That's why the news article talks about credit card debt, saying that it's bad. But mortgages are good. The more mortgages people get is, and like I see my net worth go up as my mortgage debt increased.
Well, and also when you analyze your debts, you look at the interest rate. Like I have a car loan right now where they gave me a 1.99% interest rate. Why am I going to pay that off? I can make more money in a CD than I could that particular car loan. So in that situation, even my car loan is good debt because that I'm not going to pay it off when I can't make that much money in the market. And so, I don't know, you just have to analyze those things. But one Ramsey principle that does help people out over time is, like you said, the 30-year mortgage. Just making an extra payment a few times a year. The amount of interest, if you look at a mortgage calculator online and you really calculate by adding an extra $5,000, it's astronomical the amount of interest payments you save over time. So
everybody should have a goal. Okay, by this age, I want my mortgage to be paid off or something.
Yeah.
So if that age is like 65 or 70 or 40, if it's 40, that means you have to buy your home by the time you're 10, right? If you take a 30-year mortgage. If you want to, so you have to plan it like that. If you get a 30-year mortgage, you want it paid off by the time you're 65. And if you're already 50, it's not going to work. So you have to keep paying more. You take the 30-year mortgage and keep paying extra. For refinancing, again, have a good mortgage broker who can really be on your side. You take a picture of your mortgage statement and just WhatsApp it to them and say, okay, can you tell me if I can refinance? I have this $20,000 credit card debt. They should be able to tell you right away.
Knows about your financial situation.
Yeah, and sometimes, okay, let's say you have 10,000 in credit card debt. You may not want to refinance. You might just want to work real hard to make some extra payments towards that because you don't want to get 3 points higher in your interest rate on your mortgage or refi for a $10,000 debt. That $10,000 debt could be wiped away with working 1 day more a month, So you got to really look at the situation. If it becomes huge, the amount of high interest debt that you have, then yeah, look at a refi, but not if it's something you can tackle.
So there is a follow-up question on that. Is there any downside in refinancing? What are some of the situations where people regret refinancing?
The biggest thing is people don't understand what they're refinancing. If you're refinancing, the term is reset. If you have a 30-year mortgage that you took 5 years ago, it's 25 years right now, you'll pay it off. Now you're refinancing it for 30 years again. The reduction in payment is not equal to the savings because now you're going to pay for the mortgage for 5 more years. So you need to understand clearly to see if the refinance makes sense is the fundamental thing. You have to understand. Refinancing it multiple times will not hurt you as long as the numbers make sense. Because during COVID time, the interest rates dropped to 2%. Then we refinanced all my clients. Like we've done so many refinances. Every day we were getting 3 or 4 applications. We've done so many refinances. After we've done it, within 30 days, the rates drop again. So again, we refinanced all of them. So it has to make sense. So there is no rule of thumb that, okay, how many times we should refinance. But the numbers have to make sense and the calculation you have to make.
Okay. He asked one more question that you already answered. So he's asking, what if the market value goes down further after we buy? What is the refinancing?
Oh, if the value goes down, then you're screwed actually. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you buy a home for 500. You put 100,000 down. Your mortgage is 400,000. 400,000 your mortgage. After 2 years, if the rates go down, if the home value is now 400, your loan is 400, then the bank will not touch the loan. Nobody will refinance it because they want leverage, right? They want some equity in it built in. So the biggest risk of homeowners who bought in the last 6 months is now the rates have gone down 15-20%, we cannot refinance them. That's where the choking happens in real estate, wherein you're like right on the border, you're buying something with total intention to refinance in 6 months, and because you read Wall Street Journal, the market is going to come down, then it will go the other way, right? And you're screwed. Then that's called the chokehold. You literally choke. Those are the people who foreclose. That's what happens in recession. People cannot refinance the mortgage because the values have gone down. So that is a risk people run. That's why you have to have your budget. You have to think through, can I afford it? You can lose sleep over this because there is so many external factors. You just focus on your job. Make sure you're nice to the boss. Don't lose your job. That's the only thing you can do. If the values go down, it goes down. You just have to wait for the interest rates to go up, unfortunately. Hopefully the rates don't go,
Yeah, and a lot of times when you buy the house, if you look at that house and you go, if I really had to, I could rent it for more than my mortgage, you're almost always in a good place.
Yeah.
Because if you really had to move to find a more affordable place to live, you could move and rent your property out. So I feel like you're in a safe position if the home that you're buying would rent for either at or a little bit more than what you're paying in a mortgage payment.
I'm thinking it's going to take about a year or two. Like, you can't buy it and immediately expect something to dramatically change. Like, if you lose your job within 6 months, yeah, it will be stressful. But if you give it 2 years, I think things will settle down. The market will either go up and the rents will go high, then your mortgage will be less than the rent that you could get. So all that, worst case, you can go back to your apartment and rent it and make 200-300 extra per month. So people have done it during recession time.
I think you have to have about a 5 or 10 year plan on any home. Probably a 10-year plan on a home.
10 is the safest. You'll have no stress.
Yeah, have no stress. If you have a 10-year plan, like I'm not selling this house for 10 years, then you'll be able to sleep at night. I tend to be more conservative. I watched the people that were, the tortoise and the hare, the famous story. When you watched people, and I was jealous. They were buying 20 properties and going to new builds and getting in auctions, and they had so many homes. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to be wealthy. They're going to be so rich. Well, those were the people that would crash and burn and declare bankruptcy and lose everything they owned. So there's a real fine line to having a little more conservative, the turtle wins the race, little by little mentality over, I need to make my money in 2 years. So the 10-year plan will always win over the 2-year plan.
And I love it. And summarized it. We've seen so many real estate agents who lost everything. They lost custom homes. I mean, they were war leveraged and all that.
Yeah, they were very aggressive, just very aggressive and motivated when the market was going crazy. And they really got themselves, even though they were in the industry with us, they got themselves caught up in the frenzy of it all. And, I sat back and did things little by little and was a little more conservative. And I didn't crash and burn quite as badly as, everybody lost some income during those times. But boy, I saw people just lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, lose their homes, declare bankruptcy, people that I consider to be very wealthy. So sometimes when you watch people and you think that they're so successful, but they're being really, really aggressive, those are the people that have more than one bankruptcy on the books.
Yeah. So I have this friend who was very aggressive in buying real estate. I ran into him about 3 years ago and I told him, man, you motivated me to not go really fast because you went so fast and then you really lost everything. And then he rebuilt it also. Has the strength. He lost everything. Within 2 years, he rebuilt everything as if nothing happened. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm rather go study, be calculative. So, refinance, buying a home with an intention to refinance is a bad step because home prices are cyclical. They could go down and up. Having a 10-year plan to be able to own the house is the right strategy, like Anne said.
Being methodical. If you have a goal to invest in real estate, I think forcing yourself to have a tiger chase you every few years and buy another property and then buy another property and doing it little by little in a sensible manner will help you sleep at night and help you have a good retirement plan later.
So now I have two terms in my mind. One, we have been talking about buying a house, staying there for 2 years, and think of it as an investment which you will be planning to sell after 2 years. So you should be able to sell the house after 2 years. And then now we are also talking about thinking like about 10 years before you buy. So don't these two plans conflict? Or maybe you can suggest how these two go hand in hand, how you can balance this.
I often, so a lot of times your first house isn't your dream home. And sometimes I say to people, why don't you live there for 2 years? Then you can go buy the next house for 3.5% down and hold that past house for your rental property. And that's your first rental. So, and the reason why that's a good strategy is because you can get into your primary home with 3.5 to 5% down. You live there 2 years and you rent it out and you move to the next property, live there 2 years. I've seen a lot of people very conservatively move every 2 to 5 years, and they're able to acquire property after property after property because your first home is not your dream home. The only thing that you're giving up in that scenario is when you live there for 2 or 3 years, you have to be diligent about saving for your next down payment. Because if you're not going to sell the property that you're in and you're holding that for a rental property, then you don't have that money to put on a down payment.
A lot of people stumble right there.
They sell
one home and then they cannot come up with savings for the next home and they have to sell this home to acquire the next asset. Instead, try to keep the asset like how Anne suggested. Keep the asset, make it a rental, save for the next home and keep home hopping every 2 years.
Yeah. if you're young, especially, I think that can be a really great strategy. I mean, and just to do it in that manner. You may not live in your dream house until like house number 4, but that
No.
I don't know, could be a strategy. I just don't think you can go into a purchase without a long-term goal, because we wish I had a crystal ball. I would be a millionaire, many times over, or a billionaire many times over if we had that crystal ball, but nobody can predict it. And anybody that pretends that they can, there's too many factors at play that none of us controls.
Yeah.
So when you buy your first home, also think about keeping some room for savings so that after 2 or 3 years, you can also think about your second.
Yeah.
So every few years, you can do that and repeat
And
that.
maybe if the interest rates went down, you could pull out some in a refi maybe and buy your next home with that. But saving the money for the next down payment is the ideal situation, I think.
Also, I would like to add, so if you don't have any knowledge on buying your first house or any property before today, and you are about to buy, clear your fundamentals, gain some knowledge, and then move ahead. Don't go into it blindly, because if you don't understand it, it might come back and bite you because of the lot of factors involved in into the market and into the finances. So
Yeah, one of the good places is Sunil helped create this YouTube channel. We created a playlist for all the first-time buyer playlist, first-time home buyer playlist. So you should see all these videos. I mean, the content is almost like 7 hours. You should listen to all of that, and it has nuggets. Now, since we have Anne also here, you subscribe to this channel. It's going to be wealth of information.
I would say not to be too apprehensive, though, because, it's whenever you buy a house, it's always going to be like you're jumping into a nice big pool of freezing cold water off of a high diving board. I mean, it's always going to feel a little uncomfortable. Buyers will go, and I'm sure you've seen this, they'll go through buyer's remorse, they'll go through a doubt period because it's the biggest financial decision of your life. But you can't hold yourself back with a fear or you'll never get started. So I would say, yes, do you have to have education? And this channel that Kiran's done has been excellent for that. But at some point, you just need to bite the bullet and jump in the cold diving pool. So
yeah, that's where we have been discussing about these questions where community is asking. We are trying to give them some confidence. Okay, these are some of the things. You look at these and then you can take the next step so that you are not going to end up in a bad situation. At least you can take a calculated, move.
yeah.
So that it's less risky for you.
And another point on that, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but you have your down payment, but you need more than that. And the reason you need more than that is because if you move into that home and 2 to 3 months into it, you have a big repair. You need to be prepared for these things. In general, when you buy a home, let's say it's a $400,000 home, you should have at least 1% annually, probably closer to 1.5%, to put towards maintenance. That's not even remodeling your floors and repainting the home. That's things like your roof, your pool, your air conditioning units, because, a couple of years from now, what if you need to do your roof and it's $14,000? Well, you should be saving about $6,000 a year so that you're ready for that big expense. And if you don't do those big things over time, very consistently, very regularly, when Kiran or I get that house to sell, your home is worth far less than your neighbor's home. I don't care what the comps say. If you don't maintain a home on a regular basis, and then you go to the market to sell it, and a buyer walks through your home and they're like, you have a 15-year-old air conditioning unit and you have a 25-year-old roof and your pool needs to be replastered and you've never done interior paint and your carpet has holes in it. Well, all of those things are going to factor into the value of your home. So you have to consistently spend money in order to be able to make money later. So you have to budget that into the cost of, your first home. You just need to know that cost is going to be there forever.
I like the number. You said 1% of the purchase price annually is what you have to budget and what you should be able to afford in case something breaks. Yeah, that is true.
Expect it to break.
Yeah, it will break.
Yeah.
And that's why there is a quote that says that real estate purchased right and maintained properly is going to give you long-term rewards.
Yeah, and you can't go into it and never spend money on maintenance and updates and repairs and expect your home to be as valuable as your neighbor's home, because it will not be.
Okay, these are some very mind-blowing perspectives that I'm hearing for the first time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.